5 letters representing a national crisis, persistent calls for justice, and the strength of Indigenous voices demanding better. On June 3rd, the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls will deliver its final report to the federal government, fulfilling its mandate to report on the root causes of violence against Indigenous women and girls, and to put forward recommendations on what needs to change. The inquiry has concluded in its final report that the ongoing violence experienced by Indigenous women and girls in Canada amounts to genocide. And its calls for justice are leveled at everyone in this country, governments, institutions, and all Canadians.
Today I stand up for Cindy and all the others that have went through death in a horrendous way.
Communities know what it takes to make sure Indigenous women and girls are safe and valued, and will now be looking to governments, institutions, and Canadians to make that happen. Indigenous women are 12 times more likely to be murdered or go missing than any other women in Canada. They are attacked physically and sexually almost 3 times as often as non-Indigenous women.
This is a constant issue. We're here to say that this is not okay.
Indigenous communities have long known about the disproportionate number of women and girls whose lives were cut short, and they've been advocating for change, for this inquiry to happen. They have organized cross-country walks, awareness campaigns, and rallies for those women and girls who can no longer speak for themselves.
It's an honor to have people walk with us.
In the last decade, that grassroots advocacy snowballed into even louder demands for a national inquiry, supported by national organizations like the Native Women's Association of Canada and the Assembly of First Nations. By 2015, with a federal election looming, federal political parties started including commitments to hold an inquiry among their campaign promises. When the Trudeau government took its spot in Parliament, the announcement soon came that a national inquiry would become a reality. That work officially started on September 1st, 2016. It had a rocky start and certainly drew its criticism.
There are fundamental and core flaws with the inquiries.
But the work went on. By January 2018, the first public hearings kicked off in Whitehorse.
We identified Mary through
4 commissioners and their team have been traveling for nearly 3 years now, going from coast to coast to coast to fulfill their mandate. More than 2,000 families and survivors came forward to share their stories and recommendations with the inquiry. Experts and knowledge keepers gave their insights. Institutional leaders were questioned. Police files were reviewed. The inquiry may be wrapping up, but the work is far from over. Much like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, real change is rooted in Canadians understanding the truth of what's going on in this country, and governments and institutions delivering on the calls for justice. Families, survivors, and supporters say they will not stop on their quests for justice for the individuals in their lives who are missing or murdered, for their sisters who experience violence. Dozens of grassroots advocates are traveling to Gatineau, Quebec, to gather in ceremony as the inquiry draws to a close, and countless others will be watching across the country and around the world.